Mr. Mischief the Artist. The sky was blue, the birds were singing, and Mr. Brush was very cheerful. He was just about to start a new project. "Good morning, little Miss Scatterbrain," said Mr. Brush. "I've come to paint your house." "Paint my house?" replied little Miss Scatterbrain. "What an idea! Who asked you to come?" "Ah, yes, I remember. It was me. I'm going on holiday, and I'd like everything finished when I come back. Goodbye." And with that, she left. The next morning, Mr. Brush's new painting assistant arrived. It was Mr. Mischief. Do you know Mr. Mischief? He's the one who loves nothing more than playing tricks and jokes on his friends. Would you trust him to paint your house? Mr. Brush showed him round little Miss Scatterbrain's house. "The bathroom should be white," explained Mr. Brush. "Whatever you say, boss," replied Mr. Mischief. "I'm going to create an incredible work of art," giggled Mr. Mischief to himself, following Mr. Brush around the house. "The kitchen walls should be white and the ceiling should be white," continued Mr. Brush. "I'll do whatever you ask," said Mr. Mischief, with a very mischievous grin on his face. And Mr. Brush rushed off. He had to go to work on another painting project on the other side of town. "Let's have a little fun," giggled Mr. Mischief. "I'll paint little Miss Scatterbrain's bedroom orange. I know she hates that color." And while Mr. Mischief was working, little Miss Scatterbrain was having a wonderful holiday with little Miss Neat. "Did you know that I'm having my garden painted?" said a rather confused little Miss Scatterbrain. "Oh, lucky you," replied little Miss Neat. "There is nothing more beautiful than a neat and tidy garden." "Won't that be terribly expensive?" asked Mr. Mean. In the meantime, Mr. Mischief was having the time of his life. "Purple doors!" he giggled. "Little Miss Scatterbrain hates purple. And why should I use a paintbrush? It's so much quicker like this." Splash! "Watch out! Here comes Mr. Mischief, up to mischief. A splash here, a splash there, brightly colored paint everywhere." "But that sounds like a car outside, Mr. Mischief." Yes, little Miss Scatterbrain was back from her holiday. She was very excited to see her newly painted house. "Thank you, Captain," she said to the driver. "Don't forget your suitcase, little Miss Scatterbrain," smiled the driver. "Thank you, Mr. Pilot," replied little Miss Scatterbrain. "I do sometimes forget things." "Oh, but it's, she cried as she walked into the house. "Terrible, completely ruined," said a horrified Mr. Brush. "Not at all," continued little Miss Scatterbrain. "What I was going to say was quite the opposite. It's magnificent, very modern, a complete work of art." "Oh, my kitchen is marvelous," said a delighted little Miss Scatterbrain. This is your bathroom," corrected Mr. Brush. "And my bathroom is simply splendid," exclaimed little Miss Scatterbrain as she walked into the kitchen. "You are without a doubt real artists," little Miss Scatterbrain continued. "Mr. Mischief, I had no idea you were so talented. I have a feeling that I should be thanking you for most of this work." "Well, yes," he admitted. For the very first time, Mr. Mischief's mischief had not quite worked as he expected. But that would soon change. "I'll be telling my friend little Miss Neat all about your excellent work," said little Miss Scatterbrain. "She needs somebody to paint her garden fence." Mr. Mischief's eyes lit up mischievously. He had an idea.